broadcasting. Welcome to the Parks Recreation Greenway Advisory Board of Thursday, February 15th. And welcome to all the board members and to the public that might be here. And I will call this meeting to order and ask if we have any public comment. If there's anyone from the public who wants to speak, you can just step up, but maybe we don't have any tonight. All right. Then we will invite our chairs and vice chair of the Raleigh Youth Council to come down and make their presentation. Ms. Evans.
Good evening. My name is Paris Evans, and I'm Vice Chair of the Raleigh Youth Council. So on January 30th, we volunteered at the Food Bank of Central and Eastern North Carolina. We formed an assembly line and packaged food boxes for seniors. We assembled 647 boxes, which totaled to 18,871 meals. Last weekend, on February 3rd, we hosted our specialized recreation Valentine's Day dance at JC Park. We had about 25 volunteers and about 60 attendees. This event was a success. Last weekend, 15 RYC members attended the 2024 State Youth Council Team Building and Leadership Conference, hosted by Concord Youth Council in Concord, North Carolina. The theme was Expedition Concord, so the activities were themed around travel. We visited the Concord Airport, the Charlotte Motor Speedway, and downtown Concord. Some of the activities included creating our own race cars and then racing them, designing and modeling driver overalls, decorating conference t-shirts, a scavenger hunt, and a glow party. There were about 100 teens in attendance from 11 different councils. For our 2024 Service Learning Conference, we will host a Dr. Seuss reading event at Roberts Park. This event will consist of a week of challenges that promote at-home reading and will conclude with an event at Roberts Park. The event will include reading, crafts, games, and snacks facilitated by RYC. And that's it. Thank you.
Very cool. When is your reading activity? Is that the 2nd or 3rd of March? Or?
The 2nd through the 9th.
2nd through the 9th. Okay. I knew that the first week of March was Dr. Seuss's birthday. So,
what is the target age for that reading contest?
It's hard when we ask you about prospective events rather than things you've already done.
No problem. My name is Carmen Miles. I'm the advisor for the Raleigh Youth Council. The Dr. Seuss event will actually take place on the 9th at March 9th at Roberts Park. And our target audience is actually all family ages, so everyone will be included. We'll have some activities for teens, for youth, for families to do together. So.
Thank you.
What time? So we haven't locked in all of the specifics just yet, but it should probably be early in the morning. We're going to send out some flyers and information in the upcoming weeks to kind of get all the families on board, to let them know what to do during the week for the reading on their own.
Great. Should be lots of fun.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right. And how fitting that they had the dance for the specialized youth program a couple of weeks ago, and now we get to hear more about the services that are provided in the specialized recreation department and inclusion department. So.
Good afternoon, Parks Recreation Greenway Advisory Board members, and thank you for having us. My name is William Clemens Jr. I'm one of the recreation superintendents, and Specialized Recreation Inclusion Services is one of the work groups that I help support. So here we have Kristen Winstead, and she is our Specialized Recreation and Inclusion Services Program Director. Jessie Niger-Bruges, she is the Inclusion Services Manager, and Kevin DeHunt is the Specialized Recreation Manager. So they're going to give you a little overview of the program area. Enjoy.
Thank you, Junior. So as Junior said, we're here on behalf of our Specialized Recreation and Inclusion Services program area. Our program area has a long history of providing programs and opportunities to participants with various physical and or developmental disabilities in the Raleigh community. Right now, our current kind of trends in participation, we're seeing, oops, sorry, I forgot I had to do two things at one time. There we go. Most of the participants that we're currently serving have various developmental disabilities such as autism. We serve participants who are blind or visually impaired, and then we're also serving children with various medical disorders such as type 1 diabetes, seizure disorders, and so we're able to serve them through our programs with inclusion supports. In addition to what we do as a program, we also act as a resource to other program areas across the department. So participants who sign up for other Raleigh Parks programs who request accommodation supports, our team would come in and kind of help that program staff support those participants in programs or at events across the city. This is just a quick overview of our team. So, as Junior said, I'm Kristen Winstead, and then you see the two program managers up there. Kevin, he is our Specialized Recreation Program Manager, and he has two direct reports, Hannah Hearn and Rachel Barth. His work group primarily programs and implements for, well, he's our Specialized Recreation Programs Manager, so he is responsible for planning and implementing programs specifically designed for participants with disabilities. And then Jessie is the Inclusion Manager, and we have a vacant position under her, and she serves as the resource to the department for the participants who sign up and need supports in our typical programs. Excuse me. All of our full-time staff are certified therapeutic recreation specialists. So we're certified and licensed to practice therapeutic recreation in North Carolina, which basically means that we all went to a credentialed college. And our background is we took a lot of courses in how to make recreation therapeutic. And so we kind of bridge our education with community recreation, and we're able to serve participants through those ways. Sorry, I'm super nervous. I feel like this whole setting is very just like, it's super rigid.
Take a deep breath, we don't bite.
The podium really threw me off too. I'm not used to this. So annually, our staff, we meet CEU requirements to maintain our certification and license, which helps us host interns throughout the year who are hopefully one day going to come out into the community and continue to serve the participants that we see in our program. I am going to stop rambling because I'll just stand here all night and talk, and I'm going to turn the floor over to Kevin and Jessie, who will give you a more in-depth view on what we do.
Thank you, Kristen. So as mentioned, my name is Kevin D. Hunt. I'm the Program Manager for Specialized Recreation and Inclusion Services. So that means I am on the program side of the coin. Specialized programs are disability specific and are designed to respond to various impairments. Our specialized recreation programs are provided at a lower staff to participant ratio by experienced staff members, and we provide activity modifications and different adaptations to better support our participants. I included this model here because it does a good job of kind of illustrating our work area's mission of moving away from exclusion at the bottom towards a systematic approach to inclusion and universal design. We currently operate primarily in the middle right now, providing those specialized programs and integration into current city programs. Specialized programs are offered throughout the city all year long. These programs are primarily social and instructional in nature. And our most popular programs right now are bowling, cooking, Mike Night, buddy basketball, and Challenger flag football, which is in partnership with the Carolina Panthers. And that picture right there is from the practice dome in Charlotte trip we took on our first season. Specialized Recreation provides 3 specialized summer camps. Our Camp Friendly is designed for our youngest campers, ages 6 to 12, and that's offered at 2 locations. That's at Durant Nature Preserve and Carolina Pines Community Center. And Camp Exploration is for our adolescents and younger adults, ages 13 to 21, and that's provided at Marsh Creek Community Center. Our camps, you can expect like a traditional day camp experience. They're going to be involved in group games and sports, arts and crafts, field trips, pool days, nature experiences, and much more. Quest Adult Day Program is one of our most long-standing and popular programs. This is for adults ages 22 and up who are interested in daytime recreation, healthy living activities, and community engagement. It's offered Tuesdays and Thursdays at Eastgate Community Center, and we have a focus on wellness, involvement in the community, and volunteering. We currently volunteer with the Produce Project every month, and we often collaborate with different program areas such as arts, nature, and outdoor recreation. Pictured, you'll see Kristen up front and center, members of Quest, and Seth, the director of outdoor recreation. That was us kayaking out at Lake Johnson, which was a fabulous experience. What we hear most from the population that we serve is a desire for more social opportunities. They just want to get out there and be together. So that's what we are working really hard at right now, is providing regular social events. These come in the form of seasonal dances. That was just mentioned, our Valentine's dance in collaboration with RYC. We also do meetups, and we do a lot of outings and trips. Some examples are the North Carolina Zoo, the State Fair. We just went to a North Carolina NC State men's basketball game, different sporting events, and performances at local theaters. Looking at specialized recreation by the numbers, this is just showing that we are on the mend moving out of the pandemic, right? We are starting to serve more and more of our community members, and we're on pace to serve more in fiscal 24 than we did in both 22 and 23. We are, as I mentioned, always trying to grow and expand our offerings. So we really listen to our participant feedback. We do community engagement surveys, pay attention to trends. And so we have a lot of things that are upcoming that we look forward to. Some of those are Intro to Leisure, Intro to Adventure, a gardening program, Kids Night Out, Spring Break Camp, and a walking club are all coming. I think at this point, I'm going to hand it over to Jesse, our inclusion manager. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Jessie Nijbruge. As mentioned, I'm the inclusion manager for our side of the department. So my job is a little bit different than what was just explained. So to go with the Americans with Disabilities Act, we support participants in any of the programs that the city of Raleigh offers. So we call them typical or traditional programs. Anybody can request support for those programs, and it would come to me in my office, and we would help design a support plan and some modifications so they are able to best participate. So that process is about a 1 to 2 week process per person. We work with teachers, families, program staff to make a plan that's very specific to each participant and ensures that they are supported while participating in a typical program. It doesn't exempt participants from policies, but it provides modifications and support for them while doing so. And most of the time, our support looks like education to the staff, some supportive materials like the ones you guys have, and then sometimes even a staff if we're able to provide an extra staff to lower the ratio. So it looks different per person, so it's a really unique opportunity. And then we serve youth all the way up to adults. So it does come through our online registration process, so I get an email daily with who's requesting support, so it looks different every single day. The other side of the coin is medical inclusion. So we do support youth that have some medical conditions within our program. Having these support plans allows us to deviate from our standard emergency procedure, and we're actually able to administer emergency medication on site. So typically, our typical response would be to just call 911. With the people that we work with within medical inclusion, we are able to actually administer that medication. So it's really fantastic for our families who have kids with a seizure disorder and have seizures every day or something like that, or just typical diabetes management. So currently we have plans for type 1 diabetes, epilepsy, some cardiac conditions, and some GI conditions. We work really closely with Code Blue, Wake Med, UNC Pediatric Endocrine, and Wake County Public Schools to make sure that their plans are thorough and supported throughout. We provide general medical training for all staff for the summertime in general, and then for these kids who have medical inclusion plans, there's a specific training for them and their plan that includes those members at the bottom of the screen, Code Blue, Wake Med, and ourselves. We also sometimes provide medical support counselors, and they go to the program with the participant and make sure that numbers are monitored and signs and symptoms are being monitored very closely, and they're actually our first responders if there is to be an emergency at the program. So we do have a handful of medical counselors throughout the summer that support kids in various programs. Clearly, I don't know how to work PowerPoint. Okay, so inclusion by the numbers, kind of the same structure as Kevin's numbers. The top part is inclusion support only. The bottom part is medical support. Medical support, as you can see, is a rare occurrence for us for the most part, but it is really cool that we have that ability to serve kids in that way, because otherwise they'd be turned away. But inclusion is also very popular, and we also have 3 kids that have a dual plan. So they also have inclusion support and a medical plan. So there is that option as well. Some other cool projects that we're doing, we had our first ever sensory-friendly Holiday Express this year. We had 300 tickets that sold out for that opportunity. We offered it at an earlier time, less of a crowd. We had a list of activities, we had sensory kits, we had a quiet zone, so we did make it very sensory friendly for those families. We're hoping to expand it to 2 days next year because it was so successful, which is really nice. We also have sensory kits that we've deployed. We've deployed 20 of these so far at our local community centers. It includes some of the stuff that you guys got passed around as well. There's a picture on the right-hand side of what they include. They are for public access at all of our community centers, and we hope to be able to order the rest and deploy the rest. So every community center has 2 kits right now. Some other things we're working on. At Sertoma Arts Center, we are working on a smell and touch sensory garden at their newly renovated playground. So we're working with the Parks Department for that. At Walnut Creek Wetland Center, we're in the developmental stage of installing a guide rope for visually impaired participants with some interactive sensory stops along the way. At Wilkerson Nature Preserve, we're in the developmental stages of installing a sensory story path on their Woodland Village Trail. And at JC Community Center, we have installed a sensory wall component, so there's a light touch system when you first walk in the door. And then for us, with what's to come, we're working with Greystone. They have sensory days once a month. As of right now, we're working in collaboration with them. We've provided some meetup opportunities that are family-centered, offered through the city to promote inclusivity. We're working on implementing quiet zones throughout our community centers as well, similar to the sensory kits. And we offer, I would say, monthly or weekly training opportunities for different departments to promote universal design and inclusion. We're also working with the Carelee Playground Initiative on the planning team to work on general accessibility and universal design. And we're working with outdoor recreation on some accessibility projects, so everyone has the opportunity to participate. With that, I'm going to throw it back to Kristen.
Me again. So we have lots of exciting things going on in-house, which I think is really, I think it speaks to the department as a whole, how many opportunities that we have as a work group to program for the citizens of Raleigh. And also, another important piece of what we do is working with our external partners to help us extend our reach. This is a list of some of the organizations that we do work with, and we're very kind of, not careful, but intentional about who we do have partnerships with. And most of these groups, the reason that we're partners with them is because they are serving a group of people that, maybe there's specialized equipment that these groups can help bring in, or like abilities tennis. I like to play tennis for fun, but I don't know how to teach anybody to play tennis. This group of people, they love tennis, and so they come out and they give tennis lessons to participants with disabilities. So we love our partnerships too. And that concludes our presentation. Now we'll open the floor for any questions.
Thank you all so much. What you do is really, it puts this department head and shoulders, and so thank you for that. And I'm going to see if there are questions and comments from board members.
So I was really impressed when I saw the sensory-friendly Holiday Express tickets. That was even before joining the board, and that got me thinking: are there similar or other similar things you could do with like the playgrounds or the aquatic centers for kids that might otherwise, or adults that might otherwise stay away from them?
Yes, that's a great question. So we are working with playgrounds and aquatic centers. Specifically for aquatics, we are implementing some visual rule boards. So like the pool rules we go over, there's visuals for that. We also will have the sensory kits there and try and, with the quiet zones, or we call them Zen zones, we try and find a dedicated space where it can be less stimulating for people. So we're trying to implement that at all of our facilities, no matter what they are, art centers included. But for big events too, we are providing those sensory kits with the community engagement van and also looking at some bigger projects. So we are trying to implement it more, especially for the city programs that are rather large and reoccurring. We're trying to have a sensory-friendly version as well.
Awesome, thank you.
Yeah.
Other questions, comments? I have one that's not directly related to you all, but it is related to the sensory component, and that was and I don't think it was a Raleigh park, I was in a restroom with small children, and the hand dryer is so loud, and this little girl started screaming. And I thought, I know that we do have some parks that have those, and I wondered, as we go forward with new capital planning, are we being sensitive to that very basic, just sort of, so I don't know whether you've dealt with that question or not.
Yeah, so those are a big one, and then automatic flushers are a big one that scare people. There is a trick if you put some toilet paper over the top. Typically that works, but that is a big fear for a lot of our participants. So it is something when it comes to universal design that we're trying to just be mindful of. So we are trying, as well as installing some accessible grab bars that are different than the ones that are just kind of standard to code, a little bit more actually accessible. So we're trying.
Good. Well, I figured it was probably on your list. Anything else? Well, thank you all so much. Thank you for what you do that makes Raleigh a better community. And so thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you all.
Next on our agenda is the Leesville Community Park and Strickland Neighborhood Park improvements. Maybe we'll hear about how they're putting in a different kind of hand dryer.
Good evening, members of Parks Board. I'm Digel, Capital Projects Manager for Raleigh Parks. This evening, we'll be presenting the schematic design for site improvements at Leesville Community Park in the Strickland Road Neighborhood Park. So this project is part of 2022 Raleigh Parks Bond. We're seeking board approval at the end of the presentation. First, I want to give the project overview. Per the bond package, this project funds new permanent restroom facilities and additional outdoor amenities at each park. The total bond funding is $2 million for both parks. And here is the project schedule. Our current phase is schematic design. The phase started last summer when the first bond funding was released, and we're contracted with our design consultant, Withers Revenue. Last fall, we worked with our design consultant and the parks and stormwater staffs to develop a series of design options and preferred site improvements, resulting in the schematic design you will see tonight. Last month, January 27th, we hosted our open house meeting to present the schematic design. We're currently present those same plans to you tonight for you to review and approve. Starting this spring and into the fall, we'll continue to engage with our consultant for final design and the permitting. Followed by bidding this fall, we have allowed up to 12 months for construction, with the new improvements available for public use by late 2025 or early 2026. The public engagement pathway for this project is informed, the most basic level for public participation. At last month's open house meeting, we received generally positive feedback from the public with no opposition to the schematic design. I will now turn the presentation to John Blasco, project manager from With the Revenue, to present design details and the schematic design. And at the end of the presentation, we'll be happy to take your questions. Thank you.
All right, good evening, members of the board. I'm John Blasco, landscape architect and senior project manager at Withers Ravenel. Thanks for having us tonight, and it's nice to see some familiar faces here. We always love working for the city of Raleigh, one of our preferred clients, and always love this opportunity. So, as Dee mentioned, we are working at Strickland Road Neighborhood Park and Leesville Community Park, both in the northern regions of Raleigh, sort of north of 440, just south of 540, as you can see in this map. So as Dee mentioned, we have been hard at work. We started our efforts around end of summer, early fall. We've had a lot of back and forth communication with Dee and her team with Parks, Recreation, Cultural Resources. We've met with the design resource team a number of times to go over program ideas, go over concepts, get a lot of opinions and thoughts, learn what the challenges and some of the opportunities were. We've gone over this schematic design plan with the Parks and Rec staff, with the DRT. So a lot of input from the internal aspect of the team has been taking place over the last several months. And of course, we'll continue our collaboration with the PRC, our team, as we move into construction documentation and construction. So we'll start off with Leesville Community Park. This is right off of Leesville Road, near the Leesville Road High School. There's also a shared site with a Wake County Library. Rather large site. It was originally developed in 2007. I had a little bit of involvement in the development of the trail that's there on the right side, I think in 2015 or so. But generally, this is the site we're looking at. We'll dive in a little bit more. So zooming in, this is the aerial of the site. A lot of parking to support the library. Like I said, it's a shared site. We've got an existing playground. There is a temporary restroom that was installed in 2007 or 9 that was meant to last 5 years. We are in 2024. Time for it to go. There's a series of benches, playground, some shade structures. Throughout the woods, there's a ton of social trails. The community uses those trails to walk. If you go further south down the screen, there's a creek. Lots of trails around there. So a very well-used park. So just give you a sense of what the site looks like, starting in the upper left. This is that big island in the parking lot. There's an old homestead there with an old cemetery. This gets you access to it and also provides some opportunities for some improvements. You can see in the upper right, kind of the back part of the library. Again, lower left, you can, again, kind of stepping back to the library. A view of the playground and that fun restroom trailer that we are replacing.
Can you go back to show us where on that aerial where the playground is?
Certainly. So let's see if can you see my mouse? Yeah. So the playground is right here. So and that trailer is right here. Bunch of social trails through here. Here's the library. Is that
Yeah, thank you.
perfect? You're welcome. So this is just existing conditions plan that we put together. Again, some just other views of the existing conditions. You can see that restroom trailer, the library. That rock, there is an existing well there that I understand may have some historic value from the original homestead that was there. You can see images of the playground, a fun climbing structure, some shade sails. It's got a good mix of all ages. That kind of image right here, you can see this is the kind of that what we call a trailhead to a social trail. So trailheads use that term kind of lightly, but that basically is kind of where a lot of people come in from the woods and the neighborhood into the site. So looking at what our potential improvements are, what we're aiming for, we've got a new restroom, which will basically be going in the same place as that trailer restroom. The playground itself will be expanded. You can see sort of that purple blue color is the existing, and then the pink to the left would be the expansion. A new piece of equipment, which is shown in that big photo in the left. A shade sail to go over top of it to help provide additional shade on the site. You can see a picture of what that restroom will look like. It's a pre-engineered, prefabricated structure, which gives you a lot of benefit in cost and ease of construction, but it's also extremely durable. It's extremely cleanable for if there's vandals. We had a lot of conversation about the restrooms and how safe they are. These are, I worked on Sanderford Road Community Park where that restroom was burned down a couple of years ago. This will not be able to be burned down. So that's a good thing. So that should hopefully help this site and actually make that space more usable. We're looking for opportunities in that big median I talked about. A lot of trees you can kind of see up here in this little brown spot. This image down here, this opportunities for reading nooks that can relate to the park, but also relate to the library. At our community meeting, we heard from some of the staff at the library that were excited about them having more outdoor space to use at the library. And then the lower image down here is just rethinking that, not rethinking, but expanding sort of that plaza of the library. You can see up here we're in K and A, these three trees. There's already a little bit of seat wall there now, but expanding that to give people more opportunities to sit while they're waiting for their ride, while they're waiting for their friend to show up. Also, again, librarians have a chance to use that space for arts and crafts and that sort of thing. Moving over to Strickland Road Park, Strickland Road Neighborhood Park. This is up in very North Raleigh, very wooded. It was developed in 2009, 36 acres. Out of that 36 acres, is very minimal that has been developed. Similar to Leesville, there are social trails throughout the site that the community is currently using. Our improvements really focus, mostly on kind of the existing playground and parking area. So this is an aerial photo. Strickland Road is on the bottom. You can kind of see it right across there. You come in here. It is a bit secluded, so one of the things that we've heard about and talked about is there an opportunity to put a gate at the road so that when the park closes at night, we can shut the gate. They've had issues where cars may park there overnight, whether it's those without homes or other people doing things they shouldn't be doing. So how can we control that access? So thinking about a gate there that will help control that access for off hours. Again, similar to Leesville, looking at, they have a portable restroom. In this case, it's actually a single portable porta-john that you'd see at a concert or a festival. That definitely needs to go. So again, some photos of the existing site. This is a little gathering area, kind of in between some of the play features. This is a slide and mound for the smaller kids. The entryway is really kind of convoluted. It's got some overgrown vegetation. The parking doesn't make a whole lot of sense, which we'll talk about in a second. And then there is a nice pond with some really nice views. The stormwater system here is very, let's just say it needs a little bit of help. So we're going to work on that as well. So again, here's our existing conditions. You can see this parking area is a bit convoluted. How do you get in there? How do you get out? The portable toilet is right here. A series of pathways. So yeah, this whole entrance plaza is just, it doesn't make sense. It's kind of confusing when you're out there. You've got some nice play structures that are in good shape, swings. You've got that big pond over here. So again, just more, oh, I went the wrong way, sorry about that. So then proposed improvements, replacing the poured in place surface, that's shown its age, so we're gonna replace that with new surfacing, maybe a little more color to it, a little bit more excitement. Look at rethinking this entry plaza to make it more usable, to make it more of a entry sequence. Rethinking that stormwater feature. There's sort of just a grass, I don't know what you would call it, a grass bowl right here that leads down to where those rocks were. Rethinking about this, thinking about the city's initiative to really look at green stormwater infrastructure. So potentially even participating in their stormwater rewards and their funding process to help kind of offset some of our other funding. We're still researching that and seeing if that's a viable candidate, but something we're excited about. And then I think one of the most exciting things we're excited about, I think it's somewhat dovetails in our previous presentation, is there's this existing pond over here, which is really hard to get to. So we can't really make the physical access to it accessible, but can we at least provide a visible accessibility? So we're looking at trying to do kind of a porch or an overlook where we can get to it and you can at least, if you can't get to it physically, you can at least get to it so you can see it. So trying to provide a little bit more access to that. And again, same with Leesville, the prefabricated, pre-engineered restroom. So images show what the green infrastructure could look like, what some of the structures might look like, a bridge that would cross it, what that overlook might look like, new City of Raleigh Park signage. So that's kind of what we're thinking for this site. Obviously, we're at schematic design, so a lot of things still to kind of work out the details. As Dee mentioned, we did meet with the community on January 27th. It was a Saturday morning. We spent 3 hours at Lakeland Community Center, met with a good number of folks, and it was all positive. We saw a couple members of this board there, which was great to see. But yeah, we had a lot of great comments. I think the most discussion revolved around is the restrooms and how are they going to be safe? Do they lock at night? Do they, are they vandal resistant? That sort of thing. And I think we were able to kind of calm some of those concerns. So I think typical to most City of Raleigh Park restrooms, locks that will automatically lock at night, unlock in the morning, that kind of thing. So alarms inside and that sort of thing. It won't be no different from how the restrooms operate now. So, but again, we had a really good turnout, I think, and a lot of really good feedback. So where are we? So that's where we've been. Here's where we're moving towards. We've already got our topographic and subsurface utility survey underway. That started a week or two ago. We're working on our proposal now for final design and permitting scope. We anticipate probably starting off on our construction documentation process at the end of, middle to end of March. Take us through, probably sometime in fall to get through design and permitting. And then if all goes well and our permitting process goes as we expect, which is, always one of those things you can't fully control, we should be bidding the project out in end of the year, and then hopefully break ground first of 25 and open by the end of 25, if not 26, early 26. So excited to see where we're going. So with that, we'll open it up to questions.
Questions from board members?
Yeah, I had one. So for Strickland Road, along the northern edge of the park, is there a greenway or a sewer easement there?
Yeah, so if we go back to the overall, I believe there is, I think there's a sewer easement along this northern edge, is my understanding. In fact, Withers Ravenel did the utility design for the subdivision next door. And we've actually been looking at some of those plans lately, and it does show a sewer easement through that back portion of the property. There's also dedicated tree conservation in that back portion as well.
Other questions? Jangwon?
One question for the Leesville Park. So I see the playground is very close to the main driveway and the parking lot. So I'm wondering if the proposed design provide any restriction from like prevent the kids running into the
Yeah.
driveway
Yeah,
or
absolutely. Great question. So this playground is mostly existing. We're just going to expand on it. And there is some fencing around the playground now, and we're going to make sure that the entirety of the playground is fenced with a decorative metal fence to help prevent kids from making that dash. There were also, if you've been up there in the last, well, about 6 months ago or so, kind of in this area, there were a lot of really large overgrown shrubs, kind of just between the playground and the parking lot. Those have since been removed, and we're going to go back with a lower, more decorative planting scheme there too. So you'll have the fence at the playground, you'll have the sidewalk, then you'll have a little plant bed. So hopefully there's enough to keep the kids corralled and at least, if nothing else, to slow them down. So sometimes kids, they'll go anyway, but yeah.
Doug? I'm going to call this guy first, since that's the way I was
Okay.
looking.
Is this on? Yeah, good. The sitting wall, does it have any shade?
At Leesville?
Either one of them?
So right now at Leesville, there are 3 really nice river birch trees here. You can see in this kind of where I'm pointing, and those will provide a lot of nice shade. So we'll have a nice little seat wall right around those trees that will.
Good, good.
Those trees provide shade.
On those,
And also Strickland is very well shaded too, so that should help.
good. What kind of fence, if you use a fence?
Yeah, so it'll be a black aluminum decorative fence, about 4 foot high or so, with the nice pickets. It's not going to be chain link or anything like that. It'll be a nice.
The northeast right-of-way for a narrow trail and the one that goes to the northwest, I guess, in the Strickland. Those two, how is the access to the park from that? How's the access to the park from that? And maybe for future thinking, if it were possible to make those an access points, do you think what you've got here would anticipate that possibility?
So at this stage, we're not touching those trails. We're not touching that aspect. It's not that we didn't want to. We looked at opportunities to improve the trails. We know there's already some neighborhood volunteers as part of the volunteer program who are doing some trail work. That's more of the natural trail perspective as opposed to a paved trail. Unfortunately, I don't think our budget supported to improve those trails. One of the other things we heard too, so it's always that balance, of providing access, but we've heard complaints from the neighbors on both sides of the park that where people will park on their streets and then cut through the woods to get to the park, which is causing a lot of consternation for those neighbors who have people parking on their streets. So it's good to provide access from all points, but it was that balance of how much access do we provide without encouraging people to park outside of the park and in the neighborhoods.
Well, is the problem with parking on the street or cutting through their backyard, as it were?
I think it's a little bit of both. We talked to a neighbor who lives in this sort of southwest parcel. She said she had people that would dump garbage there. There was people that would camp out, so there was a concern there. I think over here on the east side, there's a Wake County, I think it's a pump station or a facility that people would try to cut through, but I think we heard some concerns in terms of trash and cutting through yards and all the people just parking there when they're trying to park there themselves. So
You inherited the parking, and it's the largest part of the impermeable surface on the whole thing. Is this an opportunity for, in the future, a lesson learned about how to do parking so that, all the different little techniques, enter at one place and exit at another, so the space for travel lane is minimized and the entire parking is reduced?
Yeah, absolutely. We always look for, when we started a park design from scratch, we always look for those opportunities to try to, really make those lanes as narrow as possible, try to meet fire code and basic, minimal traffic flow, because typically a narrow lane, 1, less impervious surface, 2, it'll slow traffic. So we always look for those opportunities. I think at both of these parks, like you said, we inherited that. We did look at some opportunities to kind of at Strickland to kind of rethink some of this flow around this parking lot. But I think ultimately we decided that our money was better spent improving the park features as opposed to the parking lot. I could see a future phase. I believe the master plan does call for potential parking lot expansion to the south. We actually did hear from some community members who said, this is our park, this is a community, or this is a neighborhood park, it's not a community park. We don't want people coming from East Raleigh or South Raleigh or Garner or Apex. We want it to be our park, so please don't expand the parking. So that's one of the, so we said, okay, well, maybe you're right. We shouldn't spend our money there. Let's spend it somewhere else so that will be more beneficial to them. And that's kind of how we took it. But yes, it's always a lesson learned to kind of look at and at least study how parking works and how we can reduce our footprint. And I think at this park too, the inclusion of the green stormwater infrastructure will help. While it's not necessarily required as part of our process, we're doing it because we believe in it, because it's the right thing to do, and we have a good opportunity to do it.
Great, thank you. Kate?
I was wondering about your plans for replanting overgrown shrubbery and trees, that kind of thing. Will you be using native plants, or how will you make your plant selections?
Yeah, we haven't made our decisions yet, but we tend to, our goal is to go as native as possible. Some natives work really well, some don't. So, but at the base level, we're going to do drought tolerant, at least adapted species. We try to go as native as possible, but sometimes there's things that just don't work, or things that maybe there's one that's not native but locally adapted that is just bulletproof and is really solid. But definitely not looking for anything where it requires irrigation or pruning and all that kind of thing. So we're trying to keep it as native as possible.
All right, Ian?
Hey, so nice presentation on the Strickland Park. I was thinking that the design is really nice, and that porch overlook area would be probably become a favorite place for some people. So definitely keep that in.
Yeah, absolutely.
On Leesville, a couple related points. I can imagine that a lot of parents with multiple children will be there, go to the library, and then go to the playground. And so having the reading area in sight of the playground would be beneficial.
Yes.
It doesn't look like it's going to accomplish that with any trees in the way. And then also...
I'm sorry, if you don't mind if I interrupt for a second, you can see this image right here, sort of a rendering of what that space might look like. You can see it's already, just because it shows trees on the plan, if you get down there, it's very sparse and it's very open, so you have a lot of really good ability to see through the trees.
It could be. I agree. It could be closer, but it probably would work in that situation. And then also, have you worked with the staff at that library or the library system about any synergies, design or aesthetics?
We haven't had any intentional conversations. If 2 or 3 staff members did come to our community meeting to talk about, or to see the plans and to respond to them. What we did here was that they were excited by the improvements, especially that reading nook and also this kind of wall around these trees. It gave them a place where they could bring their the kids out and they can do arts and crafts on the wall, put out papers and whatever else. So, but yeah, no, we did not have any intentional conversations. But
if you don't mind, I'm going to step in for a second for the library. We actually, as part of our public engagement, we intend to include the staff of library. So through the whole design process, there will be always a part of our email or message receiver. So, all the steps they are aware of, and also even the final schematic design, we already communicate with them. They were happy with this.
All right,
Thanks.
All right, any other questions from board members? Sure.
So from a larger library perspective, we've got a programmatic partnership that we do with them from a macro level. So whether that's hosting the bookmobile at several sites. So that's one of the partners that I've developed over the years that we work with. So just like at Green Road, which you guys will hear about later in the season, where we have those synergies with those type of operations that complement our work, absolutely, we build relationships with them. In this case, we already have it where we've had the joint use of the space. Literally, we have a joint use agreement with them there. So just want to assure you that that's a relationship we already have with the libraries. And once we get this enhanced investment in the space, it'll be something we can accelerate.
Thank you.
Thank you. And one additional question is, when was the master plan done for these parks? And will there be an opportunity, since I'm guessing it was pretty long ago, to have input and revisit because the world is a changing place?
Yeah, the original master plans, I believe, were done in 2007 and 2008. Leesville was built in 2009. Strickland was about the same time. So, yeah, like you said, it's been a good long while.
Comparatively, these are fairly recent ones. We have ones that
They don't have an inch of dust on the top of them. All right, very good. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
And so I guess we need a motion to approve the schematic designs as they have been presented. These will come back to us as construction documents, or this is the last time we see them? Okay, so.
I make a motion that we approve.
All right, second? All right. All in favor of approving the schematic designs for Leesville Road Park and Strickland Road Park, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? With that, it is approved, and we are excited to see these things happen. And I hope, one of the questions from council has been for other projects is how can we expedite things? And I do appreciate the fact that you identified the permitting as a hindrance, and we all have to always be mindful that that is us, that is the city of Raleigh, that is the hindrance. And so we need to be thinking about ways that we can get our own projects approved and see that money spent and the community enjoying those facilities. So thank you.
I was going to share it. It's great that we just got our first wave of bond funding in July 2023, and we've already identified a project that's going to go to construction later this year. And we'll have a pipeline of these presentations for you the next few months. So I'll give Dee and the project managers credit that they have moved once they got the green light. They were ready. Yep.
Bond passed. Thank you. All right. Next item on our agenda is the director's report.
It is, and that is indicative of what my report is. We have a lot going on, so I will glean through a lot of this for you, and I'll also highlight some additions that the board has requested to improve this report. One initiative that has been going on for roughly about 5 years is a partnership in Northwest Raleigh with Swing Racket and Paddle Sports. We have a long-term lease on a property in Northwest Raleigh off of Mount Herman Road. It's almost in Durham. And the council earmarked funds for this public-private partnership. They will have a public hearing on Tuesday about it, and then I will make a presentation to you all next month. Exciting opportunity to have what it will be as a park, but also considerable amount of community benefits that I'll share with you after I share with the council on Tuesday. A pipeline of a lot of approvals for bond projects. So we had professional services for the Top Green Neighborhood Center as a part of the 2022 bond, Method Road, Tarboro Road, and Chavis. So the council approved a wave of design contracts at their last meeting, which is really exciting. Multiple of these vendors are minority or women-owned businesses, so that shows the commitment to this bond, really hosting and hiring some local minority-owned businesses and women-owned businesses. So very exciting. The other is that they approved, we're going to use a construction manager at risk for John Chavis Community Park Aquatic Center. It is a specific type of construction delivery method, and the council approved a joint venture between Barn Hill Construction and Holt Brothers Construction. So another local flavor for that. Jumping through, happy Black History Month. We have dozens of activities across our park system, from programs at Chavis, the Pope House, trolley tours, a great art exhibit at Dick's Chapel. So please get out and enjoy the celebrations that we have across the park system. We are targeting a build day in the next 2 weeks for our first community garden at Barwell Road. So we hired a construction company to do like all the big upfit, getting the water and everything in place. Now we're going to work with the Southeast Raleigh community and Interfaith on building the garden. And then Interfaith is going to train community members to maintain the garden. So that date is February 23rd. So please come out and join us. And let's see, I talked about Dix Park. We have a project summit coming up on the 28th at Dix Park, and that is not just about the park. That's about the BRT. It's about Lake Wheeler Road improvements. We invite NC State University, has a lot going on Centennial campus. So it is a ecosystem of projects in Southwest Raleigh, which will be hosted at the chapel. So please come out and visit. I'm really excited that we are launching multi-language welcome signage. Our first place that we have put that out is at Wilkerson, so that's wonderful. Our construction crews in-house made a small reading room down at Walnut Creek and made those renovations. And then two new additions that we're going to make, and next month TJ will go through it for you, is that at the request of this board, you wanted to be more informed about zoning cases that impact the park system, so that if you have an interest, you can participate with the Planning Commission and advocate for different zoning options. So in this report, of course, if you have a paper copy, it's not going to help, but when you go and click online, there are lots of links for you. So it'll take you right to the zoning cases. It'll take you to the portal where you can comment and you can see staff's comments. So next month, what we've do is we'll have TJ and his team come and walk through and show you how we participate and how you can participate, and we can show you online real time. And then the other request that we had was, how can we promote volunteerism with the board? So every month we will have a link as a reminder to share with you, here are the options for you to volunteer in the park system. So that is my report.
Thank you. Very comprehensive. There's a lot going on.
It wasn't on the agenda. Another way that we want you to participate is I'm going to ask a new planner of ours. I'm going to welcome to the microphone Jay Butts. He is a new park planner in the department. And I'm going to allow him to go through it, but we have we were chosen nationally to host, it's called the Park Equity Accelerator Program. And we would love the board to participate in some focus groups or charrettes as a part of it, but I'll turn it over to Jay.
Good afternoon, everybody. As Stephen said, Trust for Public Land chose Raleigh to host a Park Equity Accelerator, and what I'm here to present tonight is a part of the Park Equity Accelerator. They want to host focus groups with our great Parks Board. So that's what I'm here to present to you all tonight. So what is the Park Equity Accelerator? The Park Equity Accelerator is an initiative through the Trust for Public Land that addresses root causes and park inequities throughout the country, around the country. We were selected alongside of cities like Los Angeles, Baton Rouge, Boston, Washington, D.C. So we were stacked up against some pretty big cities, and they chose Raleigh because we're on the cutting edge of developing new parks, and we want to ensure that the funds that we get are allocated equitably. So essentially, the goal is not to build a basketball court in every neighborhood. The goal is to ensure that different neighborhoods get what they need for the community that they have. Raleigh's Park Equity Accelerator project will focus on equity-driven approaches to prioritizing capital improvement projects and leveraging public-private partnerships to enhance park access. So, like I said, the goal ultimately, we want to build these parks up, but we want to build them up in a way that benefits that specific community. So Parks Board, we really need your input. This is a call to action for you all to participate. The goal is to help Trust for Public Land understand strengths, weaknesses, and opportunities for Raleigh's park system. So as you all, I'm pretty sure everybody's aware, we're undergoing a system plan update this year. So this is a big part of the system plan. We want to have these focus groups because we know you all serve in different capacities, and as well as being on the Parks Board, we want to include you in these focus groups just to get your perspectives and just to help Trust for Public Land develop ideas that help our advance our Park Equity Accelerator. So it'll be 1 hour long virtual meetings. There will be 2 opportunities to participate, and it'll be the week of March 25th. So the goal is to have 1 daytime option and 1 after hours option. Essentially the next steps, these are the dates. So it'll be Tuesday, March 26th, and Thursday, March 28th. We have not confirmed the times yet with the consultant, but essentially I just wanted to get this out to the Parks Board tonight just to gauge your interest. You don't have to have an answer tonight, essentially, if you want to participate or not, but the goal is just to make you all aware of what's going on in park planning in a partnership that we have with Trust for Public Land. And I will, after this meeting tomorrow, I'll follow up with our consultant at Trust for Public Land, and I will get you out some confirmed times, and I'll make sure Giovanna is CC'd on all communication, and anything you need from me, I'll make sure I get it through Giovanna.
Thank you. That sounds really exciting, and it is worth noting that some of the very first projects that are underway, where the design consultants have been approved, are in areas of historic disadvantage in the community. So that's a nice dovetail on that. Mr. Havner, I think you had a question.
I suspect you may know this, but if you don't, that week is White County's spring break.
Okay.
Just for consideration for participation.
Okay. Thank you for that.
If we get low participation, we'll change it. Well, we certainly will. Yeah.
And that's traditional calendar only, though, because we have like 5 calendars in Wake.
Since we're a month out, so we can ultimately be flexible with the scheduling. Yeah. So
you'll never be able to catch up with all the Wake County calendars. I would keep it where it is. That's my 2 cents.
Right.
And this is new news. Like, we literally added this yesterday. I'll also say the Trust for Public Land is a go-to experts in parks in the United States. So I can't say enough about being chosen, and that they recently informed us that they're going to send some of our staff to New York and pay the bill to basically have a think tank with other cities across the country. So really, I'm really proud of the work that they're doing here. So
awesome.
Yeah. Thank you.
Truly awesome. Any other questions, comments on that? Or you'll get an email in the next couple of days figuring that out.
More a question for Stephen. With the recent reformation of the CACs, are we going to have any interaction with them? Do you know of?
Any interaction can you be?
Liaison job. I mean, what happened before they were disbanded? Was there a relationship with the CACs?
So what we did, and we still do, we still present at CACs. So what we have done historically prior to the change was we always went to the CACs to share projects that are in that district. That didn't change after the council decision. To me, it is a group to engage with, regardless of their city is supporting them or not. So we always continued. And actually, the North CAC is one of the prime venues for the Neuse River and Kyle Drive. So we're still plugged in.
Perfect. Thank you.
Good question. Thank you. All right. Committee reports. Parks Committee. Either you or Chris.
Parks Committee didn't meet this month, so we don't have a report.
Oh, that's right. You didn't. Fred Fletcher Volunteer Committee, that met.
Follow all the instructions. Okay. So we had a great time meeting on Tuesday night, and I read an email from Mary, so it's still kind of a secret, so you all know you can't tell the people who've won and all that good stuff. But she's confirmed with all but 5. So I'll send out the sign-up sheet so you can sign up. So if you're passionate about someone, when you find out they won and that's the person you want to present, if you'll just put your name next to that. If you're passionate about the particular award, regardless of who won, if you'll put your name next to that. So there's some already out there. So I'm going to wait until tomorrow to see if she gets a few of those before I send that out. But those of us who served on the committee have already gotten to choose because that was a privilege of being on the committee. So we're really excited about it, and we had a nice spirited conversation about some of them, some of the nominees. And I think one of the coolest things out of it was we decided to award 2 outstanding program volunteers. So you'll get to see who those are.
Thank you. Thank you for your work and leadership on that. It is, and everybody, let's see, is it May 13th, 14th?
May 14th.
May 14th. So be sure you've got that on your calendar. We do photos of Parks Board members at that time, and it is a really lovely formal reception where people feel honored that they got the award, and you will have some tingles because there's some amazing people in our community doing great work. All right, Greenways Committee, Mr. Hetner.
We met on Monday. We've got a couple things. We are close to having a opening date on Crabtree Creek West. We don't have it exact yet, should have it for next meeting here, but we're targeting an opening of late summer. Are you going to talk about the ad hoc committee?
Either one. I have it on my notes, but in case you didn't.
We are going to ask for participation for an ad hoc opening committee comprised of this board and others, and really anybody that wants to participate, to put together a grand opening for Crabtree Creek West. I guess look for an email from me for your interest, but if you want to jump in front of it, feel free to email me or Beverly or both of us directly.
Well, and if you want a little more you want to describe some of the ideas we have for just in a quick brainstorm.
What we've kind of been spitballing is maybe a run walk, soliciting some private partnerships with a Fleet Feet or a Oaks and Spokes or something like that. Name a charity or 2 or some number of as a beneficiary, print T-shirts, just kind of make it an event, long anticipated opening. So hopefully the first of many events on Greenway opening like this.
Kara, did you have a question?
Yeah, you said that maybe the end of summer it would be opening?
Yes. The general contractor had to demobilize, they've remobilized, and we're trying to get a date on that, but we're thinking September-ish. You've probably heard us talk a little bit about the global wayfinding program. There's been a little bit back and forth there, but we have inserted into the scope of work a summary objective that I think represents what we were trying to achieve. We should have, by this time next meeting, a group of 3 symbols for choices that we're going to use for the interconnective sidewalk gap program. And the last piece is we're working on an improved communication tool for our Greenway closures for maintenance. That's it.
That sounds good. Sustainability, wildlife, and urban trees.
Yes, we had our meeting with a great attendance. We had 5 people from the community who came and were very interested and curious about what we're doing, and we had a wonderful presentation from Brian Smith and Neil Weisenbaker about what biophilia means and what it means for a city to join the network of biophilic cities. It was very informative, and I hope...
We have an abbreviated one for you.
Yeah, good. But it's worth every minute.
Yeah.
You know, we knew that there was a lot of people that have joined the board and probably unfamiliar with what that status means. So I'm glad that you're gonna learn about
To
that.
clarify, that'll be a future agenda item?
We threw it on at the request of.
Tonight?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Yes. Yep.
All right. I saw Mr. Smith out there. I didn't know if that
Yeah,
was...
Marcia asked if it would be okay, and we just, we stripped down a few slides just to shorten it a bit. So.
Okay. So, Mr. Craig?
So.
Is that happening later, or?
Well, it'll right after Marcia's report.
Okay.
Okay. So we also, for the work plan, would like to consider asking the board about having communication with the city council to make a recommendation for there to be liaisons on all the various city boards or relevant city boards that have an interest in biophilic principles. And maybe that'll make more sense after you see what Brian's presentation is about. But so far, just the Parks, Recreation, and Cultural Resources, the Sustainability Division, and Environment and Sustainability Division, and Stormwater Management are the three divisions of the city that are actually really engaged with the biophilic principles. So we would like to have some way of cultivating a deeper engagement across all the various departments of the city that are relevant. So that's our report.
All right, thank you. And Mr. Craig?
Good evening to the board. I'm Charles Craig, one of the assistant directors for Raleigh Parks. I am so excited because I have the honor and the privilege of working with our Parks and Natural Resources Division. I stand to introduce Brian Smith. He is our superintendent over our natural resources unit. Brian's team is pretty phenomenal in collaborations with our grounds unit, which is led by a man named Michael DeGrossa. They was able to collaborate and work with Neil Weisenbaker, our city horticulturalist, to put together a fantastic presentation. We are going to share an abbreviated portion of that today. However, if there's any question, Brian Smith is the person you want to talk to. He's looking at me now. But nevertheless, thank you for the opportunity to share a little bit about Biophilic Cities, on how we are a part of that wonderful network. But most importantly, it's about our day-to-day operations and being responsible to our environment, being responsible to our staff and our city, being responsible to all the residents here in this great city of Raleigh. So at this time, Brian Smith.
Thank you, Charles. Good evening, Parks Board members. You guys hanging in there? Need to get up, shake it out, or anything? Good? Good. How many in the group here are pet owners? Any hands? Pet owners.
Could you be a little closer to the mic?
Sure. How's that? Can you hear me now? Good deal. So we have some pet owners. For those of you that may not necessarily be pet people, maybe there's a special place that you can think of from childhood that you really like to go to, that you had a connection with. I need you to keep those ideas in your mind as we go through the presentation tonight and talk about biophilic cities. You know, that's sort of an academic term, to be honest with you. The network came out of a book that was written by Professor Tim Beatley, who's up at University of Virginia in Charlottesville. So to describe a little bit about what biophilic cities means, we're going to start with defining what biophilia actually is, and then I'll take you through the network, how we became new members, engagement, how we're gauging our performance, and what we're doing next, as well as providing an example of one of the things that was in the original application that kind of met the biophilic cities principles. So biophilia, if you think about this as connection or affiliation, any of you that are familiar with E.O. Wilson, the late professor from Harvard University, prolific author, and he kind of coined this term. So if you look at it and think about that emotional affiliation that we have to other living things, it's innate to who we are, and it's part of our human nature. And so I was asking you the question, a lot of us that are pet owners know that sometimes you lose a pet. It's just as impactful as losing a family member in terms of the connection that you have to it. And same thing with a place. If you see that place change over time, that can be challenging for us as human beings, because we have a pretty deep connection with places and with organisms. So that biophilic idea, or biophilia, was adopted. Tim Beatley wrote this book in 2011. I'll give you the shorter version of his larger definition, and that's really biophilic cities are striving to connect us to nature, whether it's through planning, through programming. You've heard a lot tonight about the types of programming that we do. I know that and Nikki and Jessica talked about there's nature programming and what they're doing in specialized recreation. There's nature programming in a lot of what we do. And in our operations, a lot of the things that we have are helping to connect people with nature. But I also need to do a job of having us think broader than parks tonight, because this is a whole city type of ethos, or a mindset, and how we approach the land around us as a society. So biophilic cities really help us make a connection. And Dr. Beatley came and gave a presentation that really connected with folks on the board. You can thank Marcia here, I believe, for being a big piece of the catalyst that prompted us to fill out an application and become members of this. COVID caused a little bit of a speed bump from the initial presentation that was given in 2019, but we were accepted as members on Earth Day appropriately in April of 22. And to show this, really not so much so that you see everybody that's on there. You're obviously aware that Raleigh is a member, but I wanted people to understand that we're not talking about just the United States here. This is a global effort, and it gives us a really interesting opportunity and perspective of what the people across the world are doing. So you might have similar issues that manifest themselves in different ways in different cities. So you get to see and learn from other cities and how they're dealing with the same issues that you're dealing with. And we join essentially a number of meetings a year virtually. All of them are virtual. And then do an annual report and have a virtual meeting in December every year where we show how we're doing with the indicators that we chose. And that is part of our application process. We had to pick a certain number of indicators. There's 4 big categories on these next slides here. And then there's 5 different things that we're looking at, and this is how we track. I'll also show you some of the things that just plug into this larger thought process of biophilia and connecting to nature. But the actual indicators that we chose were monarch way stations as part of sort of the natural conditions things. That's a registered program that you can go through and have signage if you meet certain criteria. But beyond just the monarch way stations, we have many habitats that we're doing things that advance pollinators and try to protect pollinators. So there's many sites that we're doing those types of things. In terms of engagement and participation, we're very proud of the amount of nature-based education that we do. There's 30,000 or more participants in any given year that come to our nature programs, and about 2,500 programs that we run on any given year. So our nature preserves, we have a specific program in environmental education programs and services. So we send instructors to schools, we send instructors to camps, and that's where some of that work is done. We also, as you guys, I think Mary Owen's name was just mentioned, we work with Mary extensively and do a lot of volunteer work that is nature-based. Kate's no stranger to that and what she's done with us in invasive species, and that's almost 7,000 volunteer hours, or volunteers, and almost 20,000 hours of service. And that's another one of the ways that we're measuring how we're doing in terms of our commitment to biophilic cities. From an institution and planning and governance standpoint, again, this is a city lens, not just a parks lens. So, we work a lot with green stormwater infrastructure, that program, the projects under it. I believe Rainwater Rewards was mentioned in the Strickland Road presentation. There's about 30 of those delivered last year, and that's been a fairly consistent number over the last couple of years. Then from a human health and well-being perspective, and I heard somebody asking about access to parks. Obviously, we have a $275 million investment going on right now, which is phenomenal. A big piece of that will certainly open up new parks, but what it also does is it opens up, in some cases, new entrances to existing parks. So this percentage of population within a half-mile distance of parks and greenways is certainly something that changes over time as we make investments like that. And that's one of the ways that we wanted to make sure that we are measuring our progress and our success. What we do when we get together with the network, I'm joining, as I said, calls on a monthly basis, and then you have in front of you the printout of what we submitted for the annual report. Again, very much a city lens, the things that are going on. So these are examples, short examples, but you've got multiple pages of short descriptions of things, a lot of links there too that you could read more about things if you were interested in doing that. But there's the things that we wanted to pull out here. The Street Tree Equity Project is going to plant 1,000 trees over 3 years. We're going into year 2 right now. Stephen mentioned the community gardens efforts that are taking a great opportunity to be able to increase what we're doing with community gardens, set process, actually have physical place on the ground, and take conversation that's been going on for years and turn it into real action, which is great. Year of the Trail was a state level effort this year that we participated in. We did about 30 hikes that were under that moniker, which is great. Conservation Corps initiatives, we've been doing these for 3 to 4 years now, and we've actually had two programs contributing to this, one specific to Dix Park and then one that was going sort of more across the system. And both of those won an award this past year that was recognized, the environmental awards. And this, what you're looking at, is something that we sent to the Biophilic Cities Network as Raleigh's contributions. I just yesterday got the Biophilic Cities Network version of their annual report, and they pulled many things that we sent. At least 3 got into their report, which I thought was nice because that goes back to everybody. So very good there. And that's these are just examples that made sense for us for this particular year, that things were going on. This will be more park specific now for 24 because I'm not necessarily always plugged into everything that other folks are doing. But one of the things that we are working on and leading is kind of a cross-department effort that will probably be called out more in 2024 to reduce invasive species planting, and kind of the logic that we've been not so tongue-in-cheek saying here over the last few months is, if we're going to have a program to remove invasive species, how about we stop planting them at the same time? That would save us some time down the road. So we're working on getting together with folks that are responsible for the bid specs and the planting specs that are out there, not just in parks, but in transportation and in Raleigh water and in stormwater, and working together to see if we can reduce the amount of invasives that ever go on the ground in the first place. The next thing that we'll be doing is making an investment this year where we'll have some contract support, some dollars invested to be able to bring some contractors in to remove invasives, which will really add to what we've done with volunteers over the years. Also, we're looking at a green stormwater partnership. There's more and more green stormwater infrastructure being put on the ground. That's great, and it's phenomenal to have these devices go in. But these are constructed functional wetlands, and they treat stormwater, but they also need attention. Mother Nature kind of laughs when you try to plan certain things, so you need to actually be paying attention. Are they doing what you expect them to be doing over time? So we're going to work with stormwater and take a more deliberate approach to how those devices are managed. We also are working extensively on, with Wake Audubon, on a Lights Out program, which is basically migratory birds during heavy periods of migration with neotropical migrants as they're going back and forth spring and fall, making sure that we are paying attention to turning out the lights and protecting those migrants and reducing bird strikes. So the specific example that I had here is of things that we do for pollinators. We are a member of Bee City, so there's many things that are sort of conceptual models of the work that we're doing. And just like hurricane models, all models are wrong, but some are useful, is a line that I was taught a long time ago. So we have different things that get put in different types of frameworks. Bee City USA is one that we are a member of, that at the time of starting up with the Biophilic Cities Network really met a lot of the types of things that, is at the center of Biophilic Cities. So we continue there. It also gives us a way to connect with other local municipalities or, regional. Monarch waste stations we will continue to do, but we are really looking at ways that we can protect pollinators on parks and greenways, and will increase sites, whether they are specifically through the monarch waste stations or not. This is an area of interest that not only provides habitat, but it provides experiences for our users. So it's a good example of what it means to be a biophilic city. And I'm going to wrap it up there and have time for questions, but also say much of what you see here and what I provided to you on the paper is stuff that you can click links and do deeper reading, and I'd be happy to answer questions at a later date as well.
Questions from board members? Thank you for the presentation, Brian. That was a great update on, and I think what Marcia was talking about is expanding so that every department in the city is involved as parks. But we're the best place to start, and so thank you for the real changes that I see in the time I've been on this board in that regard. So thank
Absolutely.
you.
Appreciate the time.
Thank you.
All right. Well, we will go back. That was a nice break from our committee reports, and we'll go on now to Arts Commission and the Design Board.
No report from Arts Commission.
Okey-doke. BPAC is next, and I attended that meeting on the 22nd of January. And interestingly, the one half of the agenda was the Greenway Master Plan update. And the second part of it was street resurfacing, an update on that. And when the bicycle pedestrian and the transportation department are getting ready to redo the bike plan for Raleigh, and a consultant's been hired for that. But in the last bike plan, I mean, I know I've spoken of it, and I know other people have said things to me about this. Part of the way that bike lanes were added, and you've all seen it as you've driven across the city, is when the city repaves a street, they stick a stripe down. And doesn't matter whether that stripe goes anywhere or connects to anything, if that part of it got, and so that apparently in my conversations with BPAC members, they are looking to change that. And so that will be a really positive. So in the meantime, they did get an update on street repaving and how that added bike lanes, but it doesn't add priority bike lanes. The next meeting for that is next Monday. And I guess Historic Cemeteries Board is next. Is that Mr. Craig?
Hello once again. I'm Charles Craig, one of the assistant directors, and there is no report.
Very good.
Let me add to it very quickly. So we have not met. We will meet again March 28, 5:30 p.m. at the Tucker House. So that's why there's no report.
Very good. Dick's Leadership Committee, as Stephen mentioned, there is the Project Summit on the 28th in 2 weeks. I really encourage folks to go. And there was a handout there that I wanted to share some specifics. The Gibson Play Plaza is under construction, and they have actually had, for the last year, it's been just moving dirt. And now, finally, there are some pieces of equipment that have arrived. And so if you go on the webcam, you can see that. But one of the things that is interesting is some of the biophilic connection there. 1,000 trees, 4,000 shrubs, and over 100,000 bulbs will be planted. Hopefully, mostly native species and plants. I've talked with Kate about that many times and gotten assurance. Not this Kate, but actually Kate Pierce.
Yeah, our designer is a plant nerd. The Van Valkenburg teams, as much as they focused on play, I've never seen a planting plan like this. It's very impressive.
Yeah, and so there'll be EV stations, bike share, and so they're expecting 1 million visitors a year. And they are in the we, the city of Raleigh, is in the transition of taking over several of the buildings, and the Brown building, the Lineberger building, and the Scott building. And so that will, but if you've driven down Blue Ridge Road, you know that the Health and Human Services building is not complete. And so we had a lease with the state for keep health and human services on Dix campus until 2025. Now that's been extended to 2027. And they are in the process. There will be concessions when the Play Plaza opens, and they are in the process of choosing. In fact, have they chosen the?
They haven't announced it. They have chosen.
Okay, I knew it was to happen in February. So that's the update from the Dix Park Leadership Committee. And I would like to suggest, I know that the Greenway Committee get an update on the Rocky Branch schematic design, because that impacts the Greenway substantially, and I think that will be appropriate. And Raleigh Environmental Awards jury, did somebody sit on that?
Yeah, the meeting is on March 14th, so I will present after that.
Awesome. And their awards will be right close to Earth Day, and they are a lot of fun to go to, similar to the Fred Fletcher Awards. So, Historic Resources and Museum Advisory Board.
Couple quick things. We are having trouble keeping the train at Pullen running, so they have accelerated a new train to come. No additional information there.
Oh, you don't mean people, you mean engine.
Mechanically.
Yeah, mechanically. It's a very niche repair, like the carousel. Yeah, and we have some in-house skill sets, but it does sometimes require literally someone to fly in to fix it. So we're looking at redundancies and replacement as well. So.
Oh, please.
The City of Raleigh Museum Baseball in Raleigh exhibit opens March 28th.
Should be pretty cool.
There's an RFQ out for the Moore Square Cafe replacement vendor. It closed last week.
We only received 2. So we're working with our real estate staff, DRA, and looking at, do we want to pursue those 2 and review, or is there alternative ways? We're even looking at some restaurant owners to say, tell us whether this was a good RFQ. What was it? Was there barriers to it? So, yeah, but we're working on it. Yeah.
Were the 2 local, Stephen?
Yes. Yes, we were encouraging local and vendors that are interested in supporting the public space. So.
Hey, Stephen, question. Are
Yes.
we privy to look at the RFQ or no?
No.
No.
Afterwards, I mean, you could say, I want to do an information request that I could give them to you.
Only because I sat on 3 of them before
Yep.
with the previous city I was with
Yeah.
for a restaurant
No,
lease.
our city policy said it's done at the appointment of the city manager to staff, but all of this is public information, right?
Well, and you don't mean the decision-making process, you mean the actual RFQ.
Yeah, just the RFQ. Just as you were saying, you were going to have restaurant tours look at it. Only because I sat on some before, and I've managed some leases with, through a city for restaurants.
It would be out of practice because we just awarded $15 million in design contracts and no one saw those RFQs. Yeah. But what I would say is, if you are interested, we can certainly connect you with our team to say, here's some things that I did before.
Okay.
Yep.
Did we get any feedback from potential vendors that were invited to participate on why they didn't participate?
Yeah, 2 of them. We had one we were really excited about that came, and they basically just said they looked at their books, and in order to move right now in this market, it was tough. And then the other one that said they had a big changeover in staffing, I think it was, and decided not to. We had, I think, 6 vendors come for the walkthrough, but only 2 submitted. And they were all local, so we were really excited.
Last thing is we have a date for the new trolley. Its completion is scheduled for April 15th. Yes, electric trolley.
Electric trolley.
Cool.
Don't have a delivery to Raleigh yet, but
That's right.
completion is the 15th.
And that was, I'd have to confirm, but I think that was done through a grant, so.
Cool. Well, that's great. That's would be lovely to have it here by Earth Day, but I'm guessing that 7-day turnaround isn't going to happen.
I got the impression that it wasn't going to be anywhere close to the 15th.
Okie doke. Anything else there on that? All right. Parks Bond Community Engagement Liaison Reports. I know I have one for the Neuse River CAG. We met on February 5th at Forest Ridge. And as part of the request of council that we that the staff try and just keep these projects going a little faster, we saw 3 concept plans, and they are not pinned down. They're not nearly as detailed as the schematic design, which even that will go through change. But it was great opportunity for conversation. And so each plan had something special about it. And so it gave good feedback. So that was worthwhile. Anybody else have a CAG that met?
There was a Google Drive that went out a couple of days ago for Chavis to set up a meeting. I think it's the next couple of weeks.
Okay, great.
Not sure. Green Road met. I'm not sure if.
Kyle Drive met.
Oh.
Okay.
I'm very impressed.
Mike.
Microphone.
I am very impressed with the CAG members that are composing that group. I think they're all very committed. They all seem to be pretty much in sync. The one person will bring up a brilliant idea, and then another one will bring up another brilliant idea, and then everybody will make observations on it. And I don't know if it's because I haven't been involved with the CAG before, but it's just spectacular the way they work. And what surprises me is that with all these people from everywhere, they come to a consensus pretty quickly. I mean, certain things are left hanging, but a lot of things are resolved at these meetings. And then we're ready for the next step. I'm very impressed with the whole process.
Well, and I'll add to that I think that the reason the process works as well as it does is the leadership of the staff.
Yes, that's what I was speculating.
I think
not having a comparative.
Yeah. Yeah, I think they do a really good job of listening to the folks who need to vent some, and listening to those with ideas that others are responding to. And so I think it is a positive process. So, all right, so chair report, blah, blah, blah. But real quickly, I would just want to say thank you to all of you all. We only were missing one person we missed you, Shangwen, at our board retreat on the 20th. And that was pretty phenomenal, too. Oh, Chris, you were?
He didn't miss me.
We didn't miss you. Dang, that's right. You weren't there too. So copacetic, I kind of, but we really did have a good conversation about the work plan and looking at, and so we'll plug in the ideas from you all, because one of the things we did was look at what individually what our interests are, and how do we make sure that we have a board that reflects all the different interests of all the different kinds of things that the park system deals with. And so I'm going to be working with Giovanna to synthesize that information and then get that out for the work plan items so that we can have a committee that starts on that and sometime after the March meeting. So but I really do, that was awesome. Missed you too. All right. And other than that, other thing I had was Crabtree West. And I'm really bad at this because we don't put it on the agenda, but I believe this is Kate Dixon's first meeting. You're second, okay, and it's Ian's fourth maybe, but then Doug's third or fourth, but they both had, or all three of them had orientation this week and getting up to speed with all the different topics. And so as we look at that, how to have a balanced, diverse board, it's so great to have new folks on there, and I appreciate it.
And Kara and Chris were reappointed. That was in my director's report, and I did not mention it. So
That's good. So other than that, I think that it is time to adjourn this meeting. The meeting is adjourned.